Sherry Doherty, and I'm at the Mom's Choice Awards Filming Studio, Day 2 at Book Expo America. And I'm here with award-winning author Lynn Salsi, who wrote Jack and the Giant. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So we were talking off screen that Jack and the Giant is America's oldest
folklore.
Okay.
America's oldest folklore. It came to America in the minds of the first settlers, and of course they were also the first pioneers. And they were trying to figure out how to get across the Appalachian Mountains. Many stopped on the eastern side and formed homesteads, families brought up there. And all that area of the Appalachian mountain chain is not just southern Appalachians, but of course the Appalachians go all the way up to New York.
That's right.
But a lot of this folklore is lost in the northern Appalachians because of population. Whereas in the southern Appalachians, a lot of stories were kept because people lived in rural areas until after World War II.
Very interesting. I'm an English major anyway, but I've always loved folklore and folk tales. Why do you think they're so valuable to teachers? I mean, why do we use them even now? My daughter is a fifth grader, and she comes home and we're doing work with folklores and myths and all of those things.
Well, in literature now, and especially to writers, all of the plots that are in folklore become illusional. If, for instance, you read very famous literature, including Harry Potter, it's loaded with folklore illusions. And so people can identify with that. And for instance, you can identify in a lot of Jack tales with an eye for an eye, prodigal son, and once you mention that plot form, people automatically know. They don't have to go back and read it.
Now, how is that valuable for teachers? I mean, I hear a lot about everything having to be within the core curriculum standards. How does folklore, and specifically Jack and the Giant, really fit to that?
Jack is always a young man on a quest. So if you believe anything about the hero's journey or characters having a quest, it fits in with that core curriculum. It fits in with American folktales for sure, and it depends on how each author interprets the folktales. As for me, I've traveled 18 countries, talked to storytellers and educators in 18 countries. I've studied in Ireland, I've studied in England, and we swap a lot of stories amongst storytellers and people who are authors of children's literature and adult literature as well.
So it has a really strong foundation historically, not just having traveled across the ocean with the settlers.
Right, it's tremendously historical because Jack, for instance, in Jack and the Giants originated in Cornwall, England. In fact, he originated in a little town called Marazion, and it's there today. So if you look out to the bay, you'll see Mount St. Michael. And people can go there in low tide, you can walk to the mount, and in high tide you catch the boats. And there is a place at the base that shows you the hole or the well where the giant fell. After Jack blew his horn, aggravated the giant ran down the mountain because he was awakened suddenly from a nap, and he fell in the hole. And Jack became known as Jack the Giant Killer. Actually, he didn't really kill the giant. He tricked the giant, and the giant fell. But of course, you can imagine how far a giant would fall.
Absolutely.
If he fell, it got his toe caught in a hole and just kept falling. So the stories date back around the time of King Arthur.
That's awesome.
And there
I
are
love that kind of
giants.
stuff.
There are giants from Cornwall, England, and King Arthur as well. So people who read King Arthur will say, "Ooh, I have the illusion that this particular tale is from King Arthur." And then later, it became such a popular story that it became a book, or a chapbook as they called it, in England. And later we know Jack climbed the Beanstalk. So when Jack came to the New World and was told by firelight to settlers' children, they would say, "Dad, tell us another story about Jack."
One last question. What is a whopping stick?
A whopping stick is the little fiddle faddle that Jack
Helps.
that Jack took his whittling knife and he found a piece of wood on the side of the road and he whittled out a whopping stick just because he was going through the woods and he might just go whomp and take down a tree branch in his way. But in this case, he went whomp down on a bunch of horseflies.
Ooh.
And then he became known as Jack that killed 7 with one whack. And it gave him false advertising. And so that is the guts of the story. and it is a real tromp into core curriculum because it's folk tale, fairy tale, rural tale, myth, American myth, Appalachian, because some schools have Appalachian
Yes, they
studies.
do.
And this actually fits core curriculum in so many ways from kindergarten, especially kindergarten up to fourth grade.
Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad you were able to stop by and give me a little history lesson
Thank
today.
you. Thanks.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.